Give them as a gift. You'll be loved and appreciated. Our own local company with a global reach, including the Dakotas, Seafoam.
Unfortunately, this story might be too common the closer you get to the country's tallest buildings. But on Monday afternoon, an 11-year-old boy was shot and killed in Folwell Park in Minneapolis. He was in a car. Police cannot confirm whether the child was the intended target of the shooting or if he was just caught in the crossfire. I would suspect he was caught in the crossfire, but what do I know? And, of course, all of the usual people who pop up to speak about such things and share their outrage with obvious justification. Of all the people who spoke, I saw on the news, I believe you have it, right, Reavers?
I do.
Don't play it yet.
I reloaded it, so just give me about 15 seconds.
Do we know the woman's name?
I will have it for you just momentarily.
I don't know.
She gets introduced in this clip.
Oh, a woman, obviously a mother, spoke up and said, the only thing I've heard that makes absolute sense when these nonsensical things happen. You know, she didn't come out and say, you know what we need is another playground. Well, that would have been stupid. The kid got shot at a playground. Right. So we hear from this woman a tremendous, well, her name's Angela Williams. There, I just found it myself. She lives a few blocks from Folwell Park. She said she was concerned when she first heard about the shooting, but that concern turned into action when she heard the victim was an 11-year-old boy.
Tonight, we've learned police are increasing patrols in the area where an 11-year-old boy was shot to death in Minneapolis. City Council member Latricia Vita has identified him as Amir Atkins. The shooting happened Monday in Folwell Park, right in the middle of the afternoon. Joe Mason went to the park to talk with neighbors and to learn more about the stepped-up security there. Joe?
Kevin, those increased patrols will be by Minneapolis Police and Park Police, and we know of at least one event scheduled for tonight has been postponed. Today we were at the park and we found heartbreak, anger, and fear. It seemed like another day in the park, but this was far from just another day. Less than 24 hours earlier, here at Folwell Park, an 11-year-old boy was shot and killed.
It is a tragedy. It's somebody's son, maybe somebody's brother, somebody's student.
Not surprisingly, Kelly Yetter said somebody's student. She's a teacher, called this neighborhood home for more than 20 years.
Sadly, it's not uncommon for a shooting to take place.
She's thinking about the unimaginable loss of a child by a bullet here, but kept trying not to.
At the same time, it is also hard to not make yourself a little bit numb to it, because otherwise, how do you cope?
And some here are tired of coping with the violence, with the loss of young lives.
And it just broke my heart, because I was like, we can't keep letting this happen.
Angela Williams lives near the park, and she believes for the violence to stop, it must start in the home.
This ain't got nothing to do with politics, the economy, nothing. It's got everything. It has everything to do with parents taking responsibility for their children.
On Wednesday, Angela will hold a community meeting at the park against the violence. She hopes parents will be listening.
You know who in your house got a gun. You know who in your house selling drugs. You know about all of this stuff. You know, stop hiding behind fear. Why are you scared of your own kids?
This is just as much risk.
The fear of violence didn't stop Alyssa George from coming to Folwell Park.
That's enough.
I feel like it's happening.
Because I don't think anyone else spoke as plainly as she did, Angela Williams.
That meeting is today, by the way.
Now,
I wonder who will attend. Who's going to attend that meeting?
That's a good question.
She's right. This isn't politics. This isn't the economy. This isn't socioeconomic conditions. This is parents who don't give a bleep what their kids are doing.
But will this meeting turn into a political outcry?
Is it arranged by Angela Williams? Did she say she's arranging this meeting? She's taking action.
She made it sound like that. And Matthew, to answer you, yeah, it will. It probably will. It always does.
Now this lady talked about parenting and being accountable for your children. Mm-hmm. That's what the meeting should be about.
Are single parents afraid of their children, their teenage children that might be strapped and selling crack?
They might be now.
Might be. But this is an 11-year-old.
This was an innocent bystander. Think of all the life that you've lived since the age of 11 that this kid doesn't get.
Well, here's what I want to know. Was he riding in a car driven by gangsters, and
I was under the impression he was playing in the park.
Yeah, I thought he was.
He was in a car, I thought.
John?
Can that be
Maybe a car
verified?
parked in the...
I thought he was in the park, but I can check.
Yeah, I was left with the impression that he was playing in the park. And Joe, it's a wonderful park. It's 2 long blocks long by 2, 4, 6 short blocks wide. It's got the typical 4 baseball fields, the pool, the wading pool, the play area, 4 tennis courts, another softball-like looking field, and plenty of parking, park building. You know, it resembles every other park in Minneapolis. A wonderful park for the neighborhood.
I think there's an important distinction that we need to establish. If he was just a kid playing in the park, then obviously he was caught by crossfire. I seem to recall that my initial reading of this was that he was in a car.
He was put in a car by the Good Samaritan. Good Samaritan was going to take him to the hospital in the car, and then saw a police officer. He was near his house, the 11-year-old.
Well, and this might very well have been a case of a tuned-in mother who said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'll be at the park." And she said, "Okay, that's cool. We all do that."
Right.
And the poor kid gets shot. So I wanted to know, we don't know that. That might be established today at this meeting. We don't know that.
A resident near the intersection said he heard cries for help and found the 11-year-old boy in front of his house.
Okay.
So,
Well, this kid might have gone over to play kickball. In other words, I was wondering, is he the brother of somebody dealing? Was he the cousin of some gangster riding around? No, he was not in a car. I'm wrong. He was not in a car. He was put into a car driven by a Good Samaritan who tried to help him. But Angela
all those
Williams,
other kids know that were there, and whoever shot this 11-year-old, they know who they are.
Yeah, they do.
They got a.
I don't doubt the cops will find the guy.
They got a what?
They got to find. Somebody's got to talk, so they can.
Somebody's got to sing first, and it sounds like nobody's talking.
But
out of fear.
But I wish
out of
more.
fear of what?
Retaliation.
Oh,
Your house
not
is
incarceration.
Next.
Oh
no, your house is next.
Okay,
Snitches get stitches,
that's
man.
That's what needs to be addressed. Then.
Well, you just mentioned something accidentally.
Thank you.
No one's afraid of incarceration.
No, God, no.
We don't punish these people. No one's afraid of that. But this Angela Williams, whoever she is, she nailed it. This isn't politics. This isn't race. This isn't the economy.
It starts at the home.
And she's not talking about the unsupervised 11-year-old. She's talking about the presumably young people driving around in a car shooting at people.
Okay, Kenny then brought up a good point. What if you are that single mom, you're working 2 jobs, so you're not home all the time. If you know that your son, Frank, is dealing drugs, how do you deal with that? She is going to be afraid of him. She is going to be afraid of the people he hangs out with that don't give a rat's.
That apparently was not the case here.
But I'm saying people that go to this meeting that are
I don't know.
called out, what does that single mom do when dad's not around and Junior is in a gang or selling drugs? She can't turn him in.
I don't know how to handle that. I don't have the answer. Do you?
Why does that happen in Garage Logic?
No.
I love Garage Logic.
The follow-up story does say that apparently he was in the park and his older brother was with him. So I don't know. And his older brother ran to this fella's house and said, "My brother's been shot." And that's when the Good Samaritan came and helped.
Do you have the answer?
I don't have the answer.
Then be quiet.
Well, but I raised the questions. I want to know why doesn't it go further?
I wish we knew.
Seems so futile, doesn't it? There is no simple answer.
Well, it also seems utterly hopeless.
Yeah.
It's just a cycle. It's going to continue to go this way because nobody has answers.
This 11-year-old might have been well loved and well cared for.
Okay.
Sounds like he walks across the street to the park.
You're right, but the majority are not. We're always worried about feeding them. We're not worried about teaching them proper.
Food has just become a Trojan horse. Food is just a means of fraud in this state.
Let's see. Is that Jeremiah Ellison? Is that Ward 5?
Either that or Latricia Vito.
Oh, it's Vito.
It's
yes.
Latricia because she's the one that named
she came forward.
the shooter.
Yep. It's Latricia.
And she's not. She's on the right track. She can't stand this. She knows what the problem is.
Right.
But just like we can't discuss broken windows because the left will seize upon that and call you a racist for it. You can't go down this route, which is why I'm so glad Angela Williams done, because she happens to be a black mother or black woman. She gets to say it. If I say it, I'm just an old white racist.
And when you point out crime,
I'm an old white racist.
Exactly, it's the same.
We need
thing.
Latricia to stir things up, give them what's for, raise up her voice, make a big stink. We all need to get behind Vito.
Well, I mentioned yesterday we came upon this preposterous fishing for grievances by a supposed intern for the Star Tribune, contacting residents of Bloomington. If you're a person of color, do you think your power outages last longer than other people? You know what? That's the least of the problems that papers should be looking at. That's the least of the problems.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, their staff is declining like other papers, but a team of reporters should be put on this. That's your problem. And you got to quit using euphemisms. You got to start calling this problem what it is. Absence of males, inattentive parenting, and don't ask me what am I supposed to do if they're both working. I don't know the answer to that.
I know. But that is, if you found the answer to that, that would be the solution.
But this is made more complex by the idea that this was just pure innocence and happenstance. There's been a number of innocent children killed in crossfire in Minneapolis. Some of that has not yet been solved. There are parents and grandparents in Minneapolis still attempting to get to the bottom of this stuff. In fact, it might have been mentioned here. What am I reading? This happens to be a Carol Evans piece. In 2021, a 10-year-old was shot in a car. Then there was a 9-year-old girl shot on a trampoline. Remember that one?
I do remember that.
Yeah. Then there was my 6-year-old granddaughter who was in the back seat of a car eating a Happy Meal. This is a fellow named Wilson. What's his first name? I'm not seeing it here.
Are these all fatalities?
Yes.
Yeah.
Years ago, the girl that got shot in her house. This is the going back to Angela Williams. She lives just a few blocks from Folwell Park. She says she was concerned when she first heard about the shooting, but that concern turned into action when she heard the victim was an 11-year-old boy. Mothers, fathers, whatever role you play in a child's life, get your household in order, Williams said. She and a few other neighbors are organizing an event for 2 p.m. today at Folwell Park. The goal is to bring community members, parents, and local leaders together to talk about youth violence and how to tackle the issue as a community. Well, the politicians will be useless because they feed off this. They're useless. Angela Williams, you don't need anyone there except you to give that same speech.
People know what is in their house. They know who got a gun. They know who is selling drugs. They know who is causing this calamity, Williams said. She doesn't need, well, I stand by Latricia Vito. If Latricia Vito wants to join her, that's great. Longtime community activist K.G. Wilson is encouraged by the effort because he is worried this recent shooting could kick off another summer of violence. And he's the one who said, this reminds me of what we saw back in 2021. That year, it started out with a 10-year-old shot in a car. Then there was a 9-year-old girl shot on a trampoline. Then it was my 6-year-old granddaughter who was in the back seat of a car eating a Happy Meal, Wilson said. That's K.G. Wilson. So for 3-4 years, he's been looking at this.
Right.
Minneapolis Park Police are working with other local law enforcement agencies to maintain safety at the parks this summer. Several law enforcement agencies are planning to announce their safety plans for the 4th of July holiday during a media briefing next week. Next week is 4th of July week, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So Angela Williams is this woman's name, and I saw her on the news, and I thought, well, lady, you are speaking the absolute truth.
I do not know if this is the same person, but I see in the general election, and Angela Williams ran for Ward 4. Of course, Latricia Vito won that. But there's an Angela Williams listed. I'm trying to find out if it's the same one. I can't tell.
Huh.
Nice piece in the Star Tribune today. A5. Paul Walsh and Lewis Krauss wrote this. And talking about this kiddo, our precious, his nickname was Mir, left this world far too young at just 11. He described him as a beacon of light in our lives, a joyful, loving child whose laughter filled our hearts. He had a unique spark that touched everyone he met.
Okay, and I hate to be the guy who says this, but we hear that upon every death.
But this was
who was he surrounded by?
This was his uncle.
Yeah, I know. And